How you doing, everybody? I'm Ken Bykoff, and welcome to the Peegs Postgame Live. Indiana picks up an easy 78-62 win over the Washington Huskies in Seattle as the Hoosiers continue to turn in some nice performances. I want to apologize right off the bat here because my voice is hot trash because I'm under the weather, and we will do what we can to try to keep it. As long as you guys want to talk IU basketball tonight, I'm going to let you, as is always the case. Excuse me, too, as I connect our call-in system here. I had not previously done that.
To show now.
So we're doing that right now. So you got to hear all of that.
You are connected as the host.
We're connected. All right.
Welcome, host. You are now in the
812.
host room and can manage your callers from the call-in studio web interface.
Thank you.
Audio recording is on.
Yeah, it is.
Dual channel.
All right. That's normally a step I do before we start this, but here we are. 812-393-2600 is the number, as Indiana, again, turns in a really nice performance against the Washington Huskies. It's not a team that is going to, turn this game isn't going to shake anybody up. Indiana shoots 49% from the floor overall, 39% from three-point range. Basically did whatever they wanted to, and turned in a real nice defensive performance. It's not a good Washington team, but that doesn't make a difference. You go on the road and you win a game easily in the Big Ten. That's really important, especially as Indiana tries to make a push to reach the NCAA tournament. So you have to be happy that the Hoosiers played as well as they did. I think that it was really interesting, though, that despite having both Ballo and Renew available, they spent very little time together on the floor. And at the very least, that tells me that Mike Woodson has kind of woken up to the idea that having the two bigs out there at once is not the best idea. And so to me, that's really, really important, and just something that he has to you have to be able to acknowledge the fact that that mistakes were made earlier in the season. Again, I think it's interesting that Woodson is been willing to make these changes after he announced his resignation. That was the big thing. Since then, we've seen a lot of different things, a lot of different lineups, and I don't know if it's a freedom that has come with this or what the story is, but certainly the Hoosiers are now performing at a higher level than they previously had. 812-393-2600 is the number. We have our first caller. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, this is Michael from Noblesville.
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
Hey, doing well. How about yourself? Sorry to hear about being under the weather.
You know what? It happens this time of year.
Sure thing. I wanted to call in before some old fogey. I'm not far off from one myself, but before someone called in and said the black uniforms are terrible, I got to say that I loved them. I'm a big time tradition guy. I love that we don't have names on the back. I love the candy stripes. I love it all. But I like the black jerseys. I thought it was a refreshing modern twist on kind of some classic Indiana components. It had the script writing and had the subtle stripes. I thought it was a beautiful alternate jersey. So I just want to get out ahead of any negative calls on that. What do you think about those?
Yeah, I can't agree with you more. I thought that those jerseys were fantastic. That it was a nice change of pace. I'm a big history guy. I'm a traditionalist as well. However, Indiana's traditions are starting to get real old. And, the fact that they took that tradition of having that script Indiana and putting it together with a really sharp-looking uniform. I know there are some people that are going to, maybe not be happy that black is it was a black uniform. They'll say, well, black isn't an Indiana color and all this. I think it looked fantastic. And I was happy to see it. This is a program that needs some new juice to it. The traditions are great, and I love them. But you could also add something different. And I think that these uniforms really looked fantastic, and it was just a really nice addition. I hope they stick around.
I'm with you. One more thing, unrelated. Luke Goody, I'm starting to get the same sort of feeling from his contributions to the team as I got from Max Bielfeldt back in 2016. Just adds an X factor. He's got the leadership, the experience. Just makes the smart play, and really is a glue guy in every sense of the word on the team, in the same way that Max was for that 2016 team. So, on the broadcast, I can't remember the gentleman's name, but the color commentator, he kept referencing, like, I wouldn't want to play IU in the Big Ten and the Big Dance. I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I do think that what Luke Goody is doing right now for this team adds a component that it hasn't had, really, I think, since that 2016 team. And I just really enjoying watching his rise and his growth with this team. And I am excited to see how it goes from here on out, especially with as it pertains to his play.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. I think that, it's a knockdown shooter. It took a little while for him to get comfortable, but that knockdown shooter is very much so like Max Bielfeldt and what he brought. That was a team that had more success, but definitely I like what Luke Goody has brought from a leadership standpoint, and the fact that he stepped into that leadership void that previously was there. And, he's backed it up most nights since then.
Yep, sure thing. Well, take it easy, buddy. I'll let you go. Enjoy the show, and appreciate your hard work.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Oh, bye.
812-393-2600 is the number. Looking for your callers. Our chat's a little surprisingly quiet, which is something that normally that we get rolling pretty good. We do have another caller, though. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, it's T-Bone from Fort Wayne. What's up, KB?
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. I just want to let you know that the black unis, again, that last caller touched on them, man, those guys, they were fire. Let's go back to Cronin, talking about Bob Knight rolling over in his grave when they wore those last jerseys against UCLA. I think Coach Knight would have approved of these jerseys. They were fire. What do you think, KB?
I think that Knight would have hated these jerseys. And we actually don't have to think that. He hated when Cam Cameron put his football team in black jerseys. And he basically demanded Cameron never wear them again, and they didn't. Because it wasn't he said black wasn't an Indiana color. So I don't think Knight would have liked it. Knight wouldn't have liked, the alternate jerseys altogether. Because that just wasn't his thing. But you know what? Bob Knight was wrong about a lot of stuff, and he'd have been wrong about these uniforms.
So you liked them?
I loved them. I thought it was great.
Yeah, I did too. Do you think they'll be available online?
Gosh, I hope so. I hope so.
Okay.
If you're going to put together alternate uniforms, the question is, why do teams wear alternate uniforms? It's to sell merchandise.
Well,
And, they have alternate jerseys for baseball that they'll wear sometimes. And I really wish they would make those available. But I've been told that those aren't worth the cost of mass production when it comes to the baseball jerseys. But for these, I'm willing to put money on the fact that they'll have them available at the Ohio State game for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you. Last question, and I'll let somebody else take care of your time. Do you think Woody got us over the hump? He's always talking about that hump. Do you think we're over it?
Well, I think what you're talking about is,
as the coach, I gotta get us over that hump.
you know what?
That's it, baby.
I think that this isn't a get over the hump kind of game. I think that this team is playing differently since that pressure was vented on it. The opponent tonight was a big reason why Indiana looked as good as they did. Washington is not good, and Indiana is just head and shoulders above. And this also wasn't a game in which Indiana played down to the level of its opponent. And I think that's
right.
really important. But at the very least, they're playing with more consistency. They're playing with a little more loose. And again, you've seen the changes in the approach Indiana is taking, because you don't have the two bigs on the floor that often together. He's not feeling pressure to play Mbako a bunch of minutes. There are guys, whether it's Bryson Tucker, who don't play at all. I think that there's been
Yeah.
a freedom in him announcing his resignation because he really doesn't have to worry about how anything he does impacts promises he'll make to players in the future or anything having to do with the future of this program. It's all about this year and doing what is best for the team this year, and I think we're seeing some of the results of that change in thinking.
Yeah. Hey, and then last thing, I 100% agree with you. LT came in very end of the first half, got a free throw. I mean, those role players who give so much at practice that are, definitely in the background. I'll give a shout out to all those guys as well. And I'm going to hang up and let you talk.
Well, I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah, the role players are extremely important. I mean, you look at a guy like Anthony Leal, plays 34 minutes, takes one shot, gets 4 rebounds, 4 assists, doesn't exactly pack a box score. That's just not what he does. But he makes his presence felt. He does the little things, and so you don't have to worry about trying to get a bunch out of him. That's just not how it works. And but he's still giving you good minutes, and I think that's really important. When you look at some of the guys, bringing Miles Rice off the bench, bringing Malik Renew off the bench. Hatton was only in there for, less than a minute, and he drew a foul. Kanan Carlisle, he was in there, wasn't trying to force things tonight. That was important as well. It's guys maybe starting to just get a little bit of more of their swagger back than what they've had. And so I think that it's really been important just to watch this team kind of develop along the way and start to hit its stride. Again, this wasn't Duke they were playing tonight, but it does make a difference. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got another caller on the line. Caller, give me your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, what's up? This is Gabe from Tri-Lakes. How you doing, Ken?
Good, Gabe. How you doing?
Good. Hey, I joined a little late. I hope you haven't talked about this yet. If you have, stop me. I was playing around with the Big Ten tournament scenario generator. Do you ever spend any time on that, Ken?
I do not, no.
All right. So there's a website where you can kind of go look at kind of what our seed might be for the Big Ten tournament. And it looks like if we would potentially, and I hate to see this happen, boy, I can't imagine this happening. But if we lose both games, it looks like we might end up being as low as an 11 seed. If we win one, it looks like it puts us at the 9 or 10 line. If we win both and things go according to plan, we could be an 8 seed. So just thinking ahead to the Big Ten tournament, thinking ahead to the NCAA tournament, with the different scenarios ahead, because the season is obviously drawing to a quick close here, the regular season. Where do you think we land? Where do you think our chances are, given the 3 different scenarios of outcomes? Lose both, go 1-1, go 2-0. What are your thoughts as to where we could land at this point?
I think, and this isn't me. I don't mean this to be a cop out. I truly believe this, that it could go either any of those 3 ways, and the reason being is it's the inconsistency of this team. Oregon is a disciplined ball club, and I could see them giving Indiana a lot of problems. Ohio State, Indiana beat Ohio State at their place. They were up 10 with 5 minutes to go and then fell apart. A lot has changed since that Ohio State game. But it's also one of those situations where I just know that Indiana has been just so inconsistent. And so I could see all 3 of those scenarios playing out. What do I expect? I expect Oregon to give us a lot of trouble. I think, what do they play, Tuesday? I think that they're going to give us a lot of trouble. That one will be a tight game, especially on the road. Oregon already is at that 20-win mark. So I think that one's going to be a tough one. Ohio State, it being senior night and all of that, if I had to make a prediction, I think we're going to go 1-1. So that is, I could see all 3 playing out, but I think 1-1 is kind of what I'm predicting.
Ken, I have a little bit of PTSD. You might remember under Coach Crean, Ohio State had our number on senior night, and then we still cut the nets down. That's a little bit of a hard one for me.
That is
I'd love to have confidence in that game.
One of the more infamous nights at IU.
Yeah.
To this day, I can't believe they cut down those nets.
I would love to have confidence in both of these games and think that we could go 2-0, but let's play out your scenario. Let's just say it's 1-1. So we go into the Big Ten tournament as let's say a 9 or 10 seed. Let's say we're not getting to that 8, we're not the 11. Do you feel like that the body of work is good enough with kind of no bad I mean, I know some of the losses are bad in terms of the discrepancy, but we haven't lost to a bad team. Do you feel like we're first 4 at this point? Do you feel like we need to get one more win? Do we need to go 1-1 to be maybe playing in Dayton? Which, by the way, I love Dayton. It's a great opening round venue. What do you think we need to do to play ourselves in the NCAA tournament, or do you think we've already done that?
I think there's still work to be done, especially with that Ohio State game. And, if you get to 20 wins, you're probably going to the NCAA tournament.
Especially if you're in the Big Ten, right?
Yeah. And so, and then I think, what would they be, 11-9 in the Big Ten at that point? I think that's what their record would be. I'm trying to pull up the schedule now because I'm getting old, and so so they're 9-9 in the Big Ten right now. That would put them at 10-10 with 20 wins. No, that would put if they went 1-1, they would finish. They're 18-11. They would be 19-12. At that point, I think you would need to win a game or two in the Big Ten tournament to make yourself feel comfortable. There's also the idea of what happens in the other conference tournaments. If you start to see some of these teams start to steal some bids along the way, you're an early out if you're Indiana, and you have some other teams make a deeper run. The Hoosiers just have to focus on winning games. Period. And to me, that is they're in control of their own destiny because they can stack wins. But you have to be out there and you have to be able to stay focused for a full 40 minutes, and that hasn't always been the case with this team.
All right, Ken, one last question about the Big Ten tournament. So let's say we go into the Big Ten tournament. As I was running through the scenarios, it looks like our 3 most likely matchups might be USC, Oregon, or Illinois at this point. Obviously, tournaments are all about matchups. Where do you like Indiana the best out of those 3? Admittedly, I've watched Illinois a lot. I haven't seen Oregon play all that much. What matchup would you like to see Indiana in a first-round scenario of the Big Ten tournament, or first game, maybe not first round, first game where they have the best chance to win, do you think?
Well, I think that one's USC. Indiana's beat USC already once. They didn't dominate them, but USC was not a very good basketball team. And so that one, to me, Oregon is we're going to see them here, I think, on Tuesday. They're a solid basketball team. They have some size that could give Indiana some problems. Illinois, obviously, blitz the hell out of Indiana at Assembly Hall. So that one would be a tough matchup. But USC, of those 3, to me, USC would be the one that you would want to face.
Okay, final question. Just curious on this one. Obviously, Indiana in Washington right now, Oregon here in a couple days. Do they hang out on the West Coast the next couple of days? Surely they're not flying back to Bloomington and then back out west, correct?
They'll stay out there.
They'll stay out there?
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Because you're gonna. They went to Washington. They went out there. I think it was Tuesday. They went. No, when did they play last? They played Wednesday. Correct, this week. Was that the last game on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right afterwards, after Wednesday. So they went out there Thursday, the next day, and was able to kind of get relaxed out there. And I know that they were planning on spending, that time in between out there, because you're not going to fly back and forth, and the strain that puts on your body. So they're going to remain out there until they take on Oregon for a 9:00 game on Tuesday.
All right, Ken. Well, I appreciate all your time. I would say I would like to add, I like the jerseys tonight. I wasn't so sure I would. I love the script Indiana font, the sublimated candy stripes in the jerseys that you could kind of not see on TV, but you could see on Twitter. Thought that was a good look. Not a big fan of Adidas. Wish they'd sell us more gear. Go Home Field Apparel as far as that goes. There's a plug and an endorsement.
Yep.
But, Ken, thanks for your time. Thanks for doing the show. Always appreciate you taking our calls.
Well, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
You're the best.
Thanks. 812-393-2600 is the number. Really thrilled that we're getting calls here because, again, I'm under the weather. My voice is not in good shape. So we're going to go right on over to our next caller. Caller, if I can have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
This is Seth from Roanoke. I
Hey,
hope
Seth,
you get
how you
feeling better,
doing?
KD. You still sound like $1 million.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Hey, do you think that the new lineups are just from an understanding that you're not coming back, so who really cares? Or what do you think's leading this charge?
Well, I mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think that there is more of a freedom of knowing you won't be back next year. And so with that, we don't know what kind of promises were made along the way when you bring in Balo and you have Renew there, and what kind of promises were made in terms of playing time and those kinds of things, and also a certain amount of stubbornness that that is part of what Mike Woodson has done. Is having those two bigs on the floor, or year over year he would do that, and it didn't make a lot of sense. Well, he's not going to be here, and the results are there, and maybe it also could be that finally just losing these games and end up being kind of stepping away at the end of the season makes you maybe open your mind a little bit to suggestions from other coaches that allow you to kind of accept what we've been doing hasn't been working. And so we're going to go ahead and make a move. And when you start to have success with it and along the way, it makes a difference. Look, these changes could have been made earlier in the season. The situation doesn't have to be what it was. I think Mike Woodson stuck with lineups that were not as effective as they should have been, and did it to try to prove that the way he had been going about things was the right way. It's clear that wasn't the case. He's made changes, and Indiana is better because of it. And so at the very least, that freedom of not having to worry about, any kind of promises that were made, any kind of, any arrangements that you had, they're not going to come back to bite you in the future because you're not going to be here. So it doesn't make a difference. So I think there's a certain amount of freedom that has gone into the way he's dealt with his lineups because he's not going to be here next year.
I agree with that. Do you think that there's freedom for those players too? Because some of them,
Sure.
it's their last time doing it, and some of them, they might need to find somewhere to play next year because they might not fit with whoever the new coach is.
For sure. In fact, I would be really surprised if there weren't drastic changes to the roster next year.
Totally agree.
With the ability of players to move around, I think that not a completely clean slate. I don't think it's going to be like when Crean took over, but I do think that there are going to be a lot of new faces next year, and to fit however the new coach is going to go about things.
All right, I got one more question for you. Sitting around with some friends, and it's kind of a hypothetical we're kicking around. What hump within the NCAA tournament would we have to get over for us to run it back? A quote from senior night last year.
I don't think that's going to happen.
You're speaking my language. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I can't see a scenario where all of a sudden that you get to that point. I think this is a program that's looking to turn a page, and I think that's kind of just where they are. All right, the caller is gone. 812-393-2600 is the number. I don't know if we're going to get some Mike Woodson video later on. I just don't know, but we're hopefully we will. If we don't, we don't. But they're out in Washington, and we'll see. But we do have more callers, and I'm excited for this. Caller, if you give your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hi, this is Dave from Fort Wayne.
Hey, Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. I have to apologize. I came in a few minutes after the game ended, but I don't know if this question's been answered. I saw you talking about this a few minutes ago about Woodson kind of playing the lineup differently now that he's officially not going to return next year. My question was, I just feel like Anthony Leal, it seems like he's getting a lot of the minutes that Mbako used to get. And I just wonder, do you think that Woodson, with Mbako clearly being an NBA talent and Woodson trying to set things up for future. If he was still coming back, you want future recruits coming in. You want to show them, hey, I develop NBA talent. Look at Mbako. This is critical to your pipeline. But now that that's not going to be the case, he's not coming back. Do you feel like that's freed him up to? I mean, Leal played 34 minutes,
right?
Versus a. Do you think that that's been a change in his coaching strategy?
Oh, no question. No question. And I don't know if it's Leal taking the minutes from Mbako or Leal taking the minutes from Miles Rice, whoever it is. Leal is out there because he's comfortable with having seniors out there. He doesn't have to worry about making sure Mbako gets certain minutes so that he could, again, it comes down to what promises were made for you to come back or anything that goes along with that. There is the freedom to just play lineups because you don't have to worry about anything in the future at all. The only important thing is the next game, which coaches always say is the case. But we know damn well that there's a short term and a long term. If you're a coach, to me, with only a couple of games left in your tenure, you could do whatever you want to. And the players can get mad or the players can't. There's a freedom there of knowing that you won't be back next year.
Yeah, to me, it was crystal clear the way he played the second half of Purdue. All he cared about was winning. He didn't. I mean, nothing else. So there's no balancing act about egos or next year or transfers or recruits or whatever. It was just like, let's get this game. Yeah.
And the other thing to me is you mentioned about Mbako being an NBA talent. I will say this: I did think that last year. I haven't liked the lack of development in Mbako, and so in terms of being a standstill shooter, he's fantastic. But in terms of quickness or adding a defensive element or any kind of creative bounce off the dribble, I haven't seen that. He's been making his living shooting threes and long twos, and so I think that there is going to have to be some serious development for Mbako to be able to to convince people he could be successful at the next level.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look, his skill level, like defense is a mentality, it's coaching, it's want to. He's got the physical skills to do that. He has to want to and then be taught to, and yeah. But yeah, I get what you're saying. Like right now, he can be a liability still. And you got a guy like Leal who did not score a point tonight.
Nope.
Played the most minutes along with Goody. We won by a lot. It's not all about how you shoot. It's about how you screen, how you rebound. If you're calling out, switches and things like that, the leadership, the little things,
There are two players on this roster who are in this lineup tonight who are in the minus on the plus minus, and it's Umar Ballo and Mackenzie Mbako. Leal was plus 26.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. With 0 points. That's amazing.
Yep.
Well, hey, we love what you do. Keep up the good work.
Really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. 812-393-2600 is the number. I'm trying not to cough in your people's ears. I really, I'm sorry about this. I don't want to. And then the water pressure disappeared at my house at about halftime. So I was going to actually make myself some tea, which I'm not a tea guy, but I just wanted to do something to warm my throat. And then the water pressure is gone. So I didn't have time to do tea. So I'm just drinking some water, have cough drops. I'm battling, overcoming adversity today. 812-393-2600 is the number. We got another caller. Caller, if I could have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Yeah, hey, Coach Match from Huntington. Wanted to just, first of all, give a shout-out to Norwell girls for winning the state championship.
Very nice.
Huntington County is right next to Wells County, and, give them their props. Wanted to think what you thought of Tucker not playing here lately.
Obviously I haven't heard that there's any kind of injury or anything like that. He's obviously in the doghouse. And, again, it's a thing of where Mike Woodson has very clearly said he's going to ride the older guys the rest of the way. And to me, that's kind of where we are with, Tucker's a freshman, and I just don't know that he's done enough to earn those minutes. And Woodson isn't about to go ahead and set him out there. And whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But, Tucker has played 23 games this year, and I'm trying to bring up his stats here just to see the last time that he played, because it's been a while since we've seen him on the floor. And let's see, last time he played was 5 minutes against UCLA, and that was 2 weeks ago. So,
yeah, I just hope they do enough to keep him around, make him eligible or viable for that next coach. Side note to tonight's game, I thought the team came out with Trump versus Zelensky energy, and I just wanted to see what you think about that energy. And I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
The Hoosiers' energy tonight? Indiana's energy tonight, I think, was really good. And so that is a positive. That's a sense of, they came out with a sense of urgency in a way that we haven't always seen them do, especially on the road. And, they came out, and part of it, obviously, is Washington isn't very good. But to go ahead and open up a 10-point lead by the 13:34 mark, dug a hole for Washington that they never really challenged after that. So getting off to a hot start, building that lead right off the bat, I think was extremely important for this ball club. And you have to build confidence where you can. And the fact that the Hoosiers were able to do just that shows that this is a team that at the very least is locked in, and going on the road and being locked in is important, obviously. But you do have this game against Oregon coming up that is going to be a challenge, because Oregon it's a good ball club. The Ducks are sitting at 21-8 overall, 10-8 in the Big Ten. They've struggled of late at times. They've lost at Minnesota, at UCLA. They lost to Nebraska. They lost to Michigan. They lost to Michigan State. So the opportunities are there for Indiana, but they better be ready to play from the opening tip. 812-393-2600 is the number. Got another caller. Caller, if you have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken, this is Mike. I'm out here in Utah.
I love Utah. I went out to Salt Lake City several years ago for the NCAA tournament. Salt Lake City was a wonderful town.
Yeah, great city. I'm down around the national parks, but Colin, it's so good to see him playing really well the last little bit here. And when we get up 21 in that game, it just gets me thinking like how close we were, especially like Maryland and Purdue, right? Should have won both those games. And then there's three more, right? Like UCLA, Michigan, Northwestern.
Mm-hmm.
If we win one of those, I mean, we're at like a top 25 resume, talking about the 4 to the 6 line. And right as I'm having that thought, Woody goes to the 2 big lineup.
Mm-hmm.
They go on an 8-0 run, and it's like the dude is so stubborn, and that's why he's going to be jobless here in a couple weeks.
I noticed.
And it's just so frustrating, right? Like, because the talent was there. I think some of the assistants wanted those adjustments a long time ago. Every fan knew it, and we just didn't do it. And it's so close. It's a game of inches, and Woody takes these giant steps back for us sometimes, and it's just held us back. And it's so frustrating, and I'm really excited that we're playing well and, probably inside that bubble line right now.
Yeah, and I noticed that as well, that you had, Indiana was up about 21 points, and then Ballo came in with Renew, and immediately, and I mean immediately, that lead started to shrink. Yeah. They never really challenged, but it was immediate. They were up by 21. They bring in Ballo, and within a couple of minutes, the lead's down to 13. And I noticed that, it just seemed it's like, well, he's going back to this. I don't know if it was just to try to let some guys get a little bit of playing time and you had that cushion, but it was really stark how quickly things fell apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just it's been hard to watch that 10-game stretch where we lose 8, and but really some of them were pretty close, But it's going back to the Iowa and Illinois blowouts. That's kind of what seals Woody's deal, and and it's just a bummer that we didn't start the season maybe competing at a little different level. Like I hear people talk about Leal's team winning every game in practice.
Right.
But, he sticks with Cannon and Miles really early in the season. And you see Carlisle's played way better recently. And today, I thought he gives some good minutes. And then, he dribbles into those contested 16-footers. And it's like I wish Woody would have pulled him out of the game right then, sat him down, and just coached him a little bit. Like, that's the shot we don't want from you.
Right.
And I'll just say thanks, and I'll listen from here on out. I appreciate what you guys do over there, Peegs. And go Hoosiers, man. I hope we just keep winning a little bit here down the stretch.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.
812-393-2600 is the number. He's talking about, Carlisle. Carlisle, again, he plays 17 minutes, scores 2 points, but only takes 4 shots and plays some solid defense. It is a shame that there were so many issues during that long run that ended up costing Mike Woodson his job. Because you had situations where time and time and time again, it was coaching mistakes that were the issue. Issues that could have been avoided. Got a cough. Oh, you guys don't know the day I've had. Those mistakes have come back to bite time and time again. Yeah, you get blown out, at Iowa and by Illinois. You choke on a 10-point lead at Ohio State, but you manage to walk off with an overtime win. Losses to Northwestern. The mess at the end of the Maryland game. The mess at the end of the Purdue game, where Woodson ends up pointing fingers at Miles Rice. Was not great. End of the Michigan game. Over and over and over again, these woulda, coulda, shouldas. Indiana's probably going to end up getting to the NCAA tournament as long as they don't fall on their face here in the next couple of games. But it is frustrating. The bright side is that announcement that he would be finished at the end of the year really vented the pressure that was on this program. And I think that was really, really important. 812-393-2600 is the number. Let's go ahead and go over some of the individual stats in this one. Malik Renew leads the Hoosiers in scoring, but he comes off the bench to do it. 22 points on 10 of 13 shooting, adds 6 rebounds and a couple assists, had 3 turnovers, but played 25 minutes, was plus 14 on the night. With the starters, you had Trey Galloway, 8 points on 4 of 12 shooting, 0 of 5 from 3. He did have 7 assists. Gallo's biggest contributions come with distributing the ball. This is a team that does not have a point guard and hasn't had one all year. I know Miles Rice is seen as that, but that isn't really what he's done most of the year. And so I know Galloway can make shots. I think he really has to pick and choose when he does. Luke Goody, 18 points on 6 of 11 shooting, 5 of 9 from three-point range. He adds 4 rebounds and an assist in 34 minutes. He's plus 23 on the night. Goody was really, really good tonight. And that knocking down shots really stretches that defense really nice. Ballo, 7 points on 3 of 4 shooting. Ran into a little bit of foul trouble. Only had 2 rebounds. Played just 15 minutes. Part of that is because Renew was as good as he was. Mackenzie Mbako, 10 points on 3 of 8 shooting, 2 of 4 from three-point range. He adds 4 rebounds as well in 25 minutes, but he's, again, him and Ballo were the only players who were on the negative side of the plus-minus. Anthony Leal plays 34 minutes, takes just 1 shot, has 4 rebounds, 4 assists, no turnovers, has 2 blocks and 3 steals. That's being effective without the ball. Then you have Miles Rice, 10 points on 4 of 8 shooting. He plays 25 minutes. He's just a +4 on the night as well. but he did knock down 2 or 3 shots from the three-point range. He added 5 rebounds. He had an assist, but 2 turnovers. Canyon Carlisle, 2 points in 17 minutes. Langdon Hatton got 1 point after being fouled just right before the halftime buzzer. Hoosier shoot 49.2% overall, 39.1% from the three-point line, just 64.3% from the free throw line. But they got the win, and that is the important part for sure. Got another caller? Caller, give your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Yeah, hi. This is Kyle from Huntington.
Hi.
Yeah, so I was calling in, and I've been kind of stewing about whether or not I was going to call in since I heard Coach Matt from Huntington, and so I just someone from my hometown. I just wanted to call in and say, I think I have a good thing and a bad thing. So first, good thing, I was just so excited to see Malik these last couple games. He had his injury, came back, wasn't himself. And then has obviously played so much better, had maybe an illness the last game, and then looked good again tonight. So that's the good thing I wanted to mention. And then kind of the bad thing I wanted to mention is I just don't like it that someone from my hometown mentioned the Trump versus Zelensky thing. I just think the politics should stay out of basketball. Let's focus on Indiana basketball here, everybody. Okay? That's all I had.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks. I don't disagree with that. This is a basketball show. It gets nasty with the politics. So I that's why I said let's talk about Indiana's energy. So I'm not even gonna go there. So I appreciate the call though. I really do. 812-393-2600 is the number. Lines are open. Checking our Twitter feed to see if there's anything with Mike Woodson and any kind of post-game press conference. Not really sure if we're going to get that or not, but we will see. For the time being, you just look at this IU ball club, and the opportunities are limited now. But when you looked at the schedule, and you had the game after the Purdue game, you win the Purdue game because you turn in the best half of basketball you've had in 4 years. Here, you get that victory, then you beat Penn State. You almost let Penn State beat you last Wednesday, but they didn't. And then you have this West Coast road trip. And the Penn State game, I thought, was a classic trap game. There was the opportunity for Indiana to really stumble there. They almost did, but they didn't. And so that's the important part. It's not how, it's how many. And they win the game. This Washington game, though, I didn't want to see this one be close. Washington is not good. And so you better go out there and win comfortably. They did just that. So now you have Oregon. And again, that's a team that has had its own ups and downs. But Dana Altman's a damn good coach. And so you better be ready to play out there. And I think that is going to be your challenge. And then you have the Ohio State Buckeyes coming to town for senior night. Senior night's always really interesting because I've learned that there isn't really any extra emotion that makes a difference over time. It can in spurts. This will be interesting because, look, Anthony Leal is beloved at Assembly Hall. Probably, I think he's proven his worth this year. Probably should have had an opportunity sooner than this. But sometimes coaches will fall in love with more glamorous skills than what Anthony brings to the floor. Well, he doesn't score much. He wins. It's the whole point of this, isn't it? So the fact that Leo will get plenty of attention, Trey Galloway obviously will as well. I think there is people cheer for a lot of these guys, but it's different with Leo and Galloway because they've been around, than say Luke Goody, who's been good this year, but it's only this year. It's different with the other guys. But Leal isn't going to suddenly light up for 34 points on a senior night. So the Hoosiers are going to have to come ready to play against an Ohio State team that basically is a matchup for Indiana. The Hoosiers are 18-11 overall right now, 9-9. Ohio State is 8-10 and 16-13 overall. Basically the same program. And they have a win over Texas this year, too. They beat Kentucky earlier this year. So they can put it together. 812-393-2600 is the number. And then you have the Big Ten tournament coming up. So the Hoosiers just have to worry about taking care of the business to close out the season on a high note. Oh, good God. 812-393-2600 is the number. Thank God we got another call because this talking is killing me. Caller, if you have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken, it's Troy from Elkhart.
Hey, Troy, how you doing?
Not bad. Doing a little bit better than you, I guess, right now.
Oh, man, I tell you. One of those things, it's just the last couple of days have been rough. And earlier today, I thought I was going to have to cancel the show because I could barely talk. So this is actually really impressive for me today.
Hey, you can't cancel because we need our therapy. Just a few minor points. One, obviously, very happy for the win. Happy for the team, the coaching staff, and of course us fans. And I hope it's a good rest of the season as well. One thing, Eldrick or whoever one of the commentators for the game, he said Woody said something to him about averaging 21 wins a season just isn't good enough or something like that. And it's like, well, it's not just the wins and losses, it's how you win and how you lose. And I mean, it just shows he doesn't get it because, just this year alone, Louisville, Iowa, Illinois, just the fact, Nebraska for his whole tenure, but especially the fact that Illinois could happen right after Iowa, just says he's out of touch with how expectations are at any, not just Indiana, but any program that expects to be, towards the top, which we aren't, but that's what we're striving for, and he knew that's the expectations.
Yeah, I caught that as well. That comment about I've averaged 21 wins, and that was my thinking too. Is that okay? You may have averaged 21 wins, but you come to Indiana and you say what your standards are. That you should compete for a Big Ten championship. You should compete for a solid spot in the NCAA tournament. And I'm sorry, Mike. It is. You look at that record and what he has done as head coach, and he hasn't come close to the standard he set for himself. You go 9-11 your first year as the Hoosier coach. 12-8 the second year, 10-10 last year. You're 500 this year. I don't know. The standard that you set for me wasn't be a 500 coach, and so it's great that you were able to pad those wins during the non-conference schedule. But like you said, I always say all the time, it's not how, it's how many. But when you lose games, back-to-back games, where you just get boat raced by 25, and you have just so many losses of 20-plus points, double-digit losses where you're not competing. To me, I don't care. You go ahead and you put together the wins to get to an average of 21. Who gives a damn? You aren't competing at the level that you said you were going to put it at.
Yep. And so it's just funny to hear that he had made that comment to the guy, but pregame or whatever, whenever they had their interview or conversation. I just, like I said, I really hope things work out well for the rest of the season for the team. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Trey, please don't shoot threes. I'm not saying never shoot threes, but that's just not your shot. I mean, to me, the two shooters are Mbako and Goody, and obviously Goody, but those guys to me have more of a green light to shoot threes. But even then, you shoot them when it's right. But Trey, I know he had a good game the other night, but percentage-wise for threes, but that is just not his shot in normal circumstances, in my opinion. I'll just say someone was commenting about Adidas gear, and I'll say the same thing. I wish Adidas had more gear available for us fans. Maybe some of the coaching gear that you see on the sidelines, maybe not necessarily basketball stuff, but the football gear,
sure.
Which was available to us. I don't know why I'm pitching that. I just am. And thanks again for a great show.
I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot. 812-393-2600 is the number. Calls keep piling on in. Go up to our next caller. Caller, you can have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Yeah, hey, Ken, how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah, I just wanted to say really appreciate Woodson finally going to this kind of 7-man rotation down the stretch where we've got a lot of guys in there just playing hard and, making us proud as people watching it. And, who knows where we go from here. It's been a rough ride, but, you've got guys in there that are playing hard now, and we're playing one big, and we're spreading the floor and doing different things, and just really excited about, how maybe we end this run and just the guys playing loose with Woodson no longer, knowing that hanging over his head, and just excited about what the future holds here just to end the season.
Well, it also, to me, it has allowed fans to feel good about cheering for the Hoosiers. And let me explain that. I've seen it happen time and time again, whether it was Mike Davis or Tom Crean or Archie Miller or, Mike Woodson. There comes a point when there becomes a faction of fans who are disappointed when Indiana wins because they want to see a head coaching change. What this has done is him announcing that he's going to resign at the end of the year allows that faction of fans to cheer for the Hoosiers and feel good about them winning while also knowing that change is coming. And so that to me also helps when you're watching these games. And it also, to me, when you see them playing hard and finding some consistency and being effective when they only have the one big on the floor, you just say to yourself, where the hell was this earlier in the year, and why couldn't it have been, like this in January as opposed to waiting until now?
For sure. I mean, I think we've been saying that for the better part of a year. It just seemed a little silly, some of the things that were going on. But, as a guy who's a Hoosier graduate of 2000 and a lifetime Indiana fan, and, I've got kids now that are 14 and 16. I'm just waiting for that time again to show them, the Hoosiers that we've known for years. And hopefully we can get the right coach in place. It seems like, even though we've lost a couple guys here, that there's some good options on the table. And with Pam Whitten and the money flowing, it seems like we understand what it takes to win in athletics and what that means for the university. So I just hope the fan base can get behind the team and get excited here as we close this out, just knowing it's the end of an era. And with Signetti and what we have here potentially for basketball in the future, it's a good time to be a Hoosier.
Yeah, and especially if the some of the peripheral people get out of the way and let Scott do his job. And from what I understand, they're going to do that this time around.
Yeah, appreciate the call, and go Hoosiers.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
812-393-2600 is the number. We got another caller who's been waiting patiently on the line. Caller, if you have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
Hey, Ken, it's Peter from California.
Hey, Peter, how you doing?
I'm doing well. Really liked the win today. I was impressed. The team is gelling. There's no denying it. They're playing with confidence. No, I saw a little bickering maybe in the huddle towards the end with Malik. I don't know. It didn't seem that big a deal, but there's no on-court fighting, which is just such a relief because that was so frustrating to witness throughout the season.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm going back through the Rolodex of my mind of Woodson's time, and when he got hired, right off the bat, with speaking in the third person, I think everybody picked up on that. And there's a couple times that I scratched my head. I remember when Finney hit that last second shot against Purdue, and I remember distinctly Woodson kind of taking credit for it after the game, making a comment about it. I'm your coach now. And it seemed like a small thing at the time, but it's kind of a reoccurring thing with Woodson. And I don't want to rag on him, and I'm happy for the coaching staff. But I do wonder how this is all going to play out with him because he's using the media to make arguments, on TV and such about, this not being good enough, his record, so on and so forth, about if they win out or on senior night and how this is going to play out. If he's going to use the bully pulpit on the way out to Eve or air grievances, I guess we'll see. But I hope we finish strong, and I'm going to root this team on. And I would love to be in the dilemma of us making some type of run where Woodson has an argument to say I should be back, but I just don't. I don't see that happening, of course. But I would love that dilemma to exist.
Well, look, I know that Mike does not like that he's in the position that he's in. That he thinks that the criticisms have been unfair. I wholeheartedly disagree with him, but and it doesn't really make a difference. He's not going to be back next year, and there have been changes in what he has done since he made that announcement that I don't know would have happened had that announcement not been made. So to me, it's just a situation where now Indiana fans can sit back and relax and watch and enjoy and hope to see the kind of team that plays hard, every time out, like they did in the second half against Purdue, that they did today, and overwhelm a team that they were clearly better than. And look, they have the talent advantage over most teams they play. They just haven't been able to put it together. And I also don't want to hear, all last year, Mike Woodson talked about how this team's still coming together. We had a bunch of new faces and all of that. He was making those same excuses in late February. Well, it's March now.
I know, and it's like I agree, and it's like you think, well, he's in the pros. There's a lot more games. That's all BS as far as I'm concerned. He knows we have a short season. You have to stack wins, and you have to win by margins in your non-conference. All those things are facts. And I'm just like you said. I'm just happy they're playing with heart and grit. I don't care if they lose. If they go out there, and I know I speak for all of us, like if they just go out and compete, win, lose, you can't fault people fighting. And go and fight, whatever the reason is now for them fighting and gelling. And like you said, the pressure's off. I agree with all that. It's just nice to see them playing that brand of basketball that we love.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And again,
all right, have a good one. Feel better, okay?
I will try. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Cheers.
Thanks. 812-393-2600 is the number. I haven't really looked at the chat too much today because we've had a dozen calls so far. I just love it. Again, really helps me because I don't have to talk nearly as much. I've already gone through my full water bottle and most of another drink. But Lynn on the chat says, great win. Finally a victory without sweating it out down the stretch. Either way, happy for all the seniors. Sure, we all expected more, but the kids haven't quit and have brought a lot in the last few weeks. That's exactly it. I mean, that's the bottom line on this thing is Indiana won this one comfortably from the start. And it's been a while, really, since Indiana has been able to do that, to where they just were on cruise control, got out to a nice lead, never let anybody really get, a lot closer. You expected that. You hoped that that's what they would do against a team like Washington. But, last Wednesday night against Penn State was right there the whole time. At Michigan State, they were up, but the Spartans made a run and made that one a little more tense than maybe it needed to. When they were at Ohio State, they were up 10 and let Ohio State come back and force overtime. It's been a while since Indiana has had a nice, comfortable win like this. So it is something that you could build on and at least start this West Coast road trip on a high note along the way. John says, does Goody have another year? Keep hearing 1 a year. He only played 10 games. That to me is, he is a senior. He has, he's going to end up having 4. This will be his 4th year. I don't think that he has another year. I suppose I could be wrong about that. But from what I understand, and the other thing too is, are you going to go in the future? It says any extra seasons of eligibility awarded due to COVID-19 will be recognized following a player's regular season, senior season. But he started as a freshman after COVID, so he's limited to the final 10 games of the season as a sophomore. And that might be an injury thing. So possibly, but I would be surprised. Again, with the new head coach in here, you might be looking to move on. Roswell says, greetings, Ken and fellow Hoosiers from Lake Cumberland, Kentucky. Nice win tonight. I'm going to be going to Kentucky. We're going over to Mammoth Cave here in later this month. Kind of excited about that. My parents went there on honeymoon. I love caves. Got another caller? Caller, if you have your name, where you're from, and what you got.
This is Bill from White Lake, Michigan.
Hi, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing apparently better than you are.
Good to hear from you again.
Well, I love listening to your program. You're so informative, and I don't know. You just handle the program so well. But I don't want you to have to talk a lot, and I hope you get feeling better very soon. But my question is, and hopefully it's a short answer, how do you figure the plus and minus when you're talking about the team? I've heard that, but I don't know how it's figured.
So the plus minus has to do with the number of points, the point differential when you're on the floor. So plus minus is for instance, Indiana. Leal was we'll do an easy one with Mackenzie and Baco. It was -1. So it's the number of points your team scores versus the number of points that are given up on that, and so that's how the plus and minus comes out.
Oh, well, that's simple enough. And Anthony Leal, I really like him. If you had a whole bunch of players just like him, except maybe more skillful, you'd have a whale of a basketball team. And I'm hoping the Hoosiers do really well. I've been a fan for years and years and years, and every time they win, my wife is happy because she knows I'm happy. And if IU is unhappy, then she's unhappy because it's not as pleasant around home. So I say go Hoosiers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate him asking about the plus minus because I talk about these things and I'm used to them, and I think that most people probably do know, but that doesn't mean everybody does. So that is good. It's a team's point differential when a player is on the floor. So it's an important measure of how much of an impact a player has on winning. It doesn't always work out that way, but there's a reason Anthony Leal is plus 26 and Indiana wins comfortably. He's out there, even though he didn't score a point. He helped Indiana score a lot more points when he was on the floor as opposed to, other players. So that's really good to see. 812-393-2600 is the number. Make this a last call for phone calls. We've had a ton of them, and I can't thank you guys enough for calling in tonight and taking time out on your Saturday night after a Hoosier win. Indiana turned in a great performance. It doesn't look like, and I didn't think we were going to have anything from Mike Woodson tonight. But again, I just, this was a game that was exactly what you wanted Indiana to do on a trip to Washington. Take control early, win comfortably, show signs of improvement, and then throw in the alternate uniforms, and they looked fantastic. So this is about as good a win as you're going to get in the Big Ten this late in the season. Road win, comfortable road win. Washington isn't good, but you can only play the team that's in front of you, and so you better handle them with some kind of authority. And Indiana's done just that. So I give them a lot of credit for that. The Hoosiers move to 18-11 on the season, 9-9 in the Big Ten, and have opportunities to claw their way into the NCAA tournament. This game against Oregon on Tuesday is going to be just massive. And Oregon has stumbled, but they're still 21-8. They're good. So the Hoosiers better be ready to play in what should be a fun and hostile environment. I didn't hit the mute button in time there. It also tells me I should wrap this up. Goodness God. So it'll be a late night on Tuesday, but I will be hosting the show. Hopefully my voice will sound a hell of a lot better than it does tonight. That's a 9 o'clock tip-off. So usually it's about 2 hours after tip-off, 2:15, when they're on the road. Someone on Twitter was complaining that I didn't wait for Fish and honor his broadcast. I don't do that on the road. That's not what we do on the road. We got to get moving on this. So I'm not worried about that. Plus, I really don't care about pissing off Fish. I've known him long enough that it's okay. And I also know that Fish doesn't care at all. So Indiana 78-62 winners. And just plenty to be happy about. You could pick some nits with this, but they won handily, and that's exactly what you wanted. Well, that's all the time we have on the Peegs Postgame Live. I want to thank you for listening, and I want to remind you to visit Peegs.com for the very best NIU football and basketball coverage you're going to find anywhere. Nobody covers Hoosier recruiting better than Jeff Rabjohns, Matt Weaver, Trevor Andershock, and Jared Kelly. So come be a part of a thriving and exciting community at Peegs.com. Folks, you are not going to be disappointed. Folks, we're out of time, but for now, and for Jeff, Matt, Trevor, and Jared, I'm Ken Bykoff saying thanks for listening, everybody.